Hello everyone, thank you for joining us today at this webinar. We're going to start shortly, 1 or 2 minutes, and we're going to talk today and demonstrate a solution which is called Sequence, PNMsoft Sequence BPM Suite. I'm going to describe how it integrates and works to leverage ERP environments and Microsoft desktop environments, specifically SharePoint, and the powerful combination of the three environments and helping clients that have invested in this environment to leverage on this investment and benefit from it. I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Eddie Hofstein and I'm a VP, Vice President at PNMsoft for Business Development. With me is Chris Edwards, who's one of our product specialists and from our product specialist team. And before we start, just a little bit of housekeeping. You're all muted on this webinar, just to prevent the noise. But we really like to get your questions and feedback. So if you look at your management console on the GoToMeeting, you'll find that you can chat and ask questions. So please feel free to ask us questions, and we'll try to pick up the questions and provide answers either throughout the webinar or towards the end. If we've missed your question or you ran out of time, so we apologize in advance, but we will try to pick up questions after the webinar. And you can see on the screen right now my email address and Chris's. We'll get the email addresses towards the end again on the screen, so feel free to contact us and send any question that you may think, or comments, or specific topics of interest. We are aware that time today is limited. We only have about 40 minutes left, so it's quite difficult to cover the whole of the session or the whole of the topic in 40 minutes. And we'd like to discuss that further with you and also understand if you've got any specific requirements or any specific situation you'd like us to address. So without further ado, I would like to kick off the webinar and start with introduction of TnmSoft. And I'll make it a quick and brief introduction. PNMsoft are a global company with a global enterprise customer base, operate through offices throughout the world, and a wide range of partners at all sizes, from large integrator all the way to small niche consulting firms. We're very much Microsoft-centric in technology and been awarded last year, 2009, for Microsoft's SOA Business Process Partner of the Year finalist, which is a great achievement. We've been also awarded last year Gartner's BPM Cool Vendor. Just two of the industry analysts and recognitions that the company have had in the last and previous years. We've been operating for many, many years, and we've collected quite a few credentials from market leaders and analysts. It's worth mentioning that we don't provide just the business process management platform Sequence. We also provide a wide variety of content and solution frameworks. So it could be a vertical framework for specific industries, such as financial services, utilities, and could be solutions that are horizontal for corporate processes, such as human resources and finance. So we'll be happy to share with you more information around our content and solution at a later stage, or if you've got any specific interest, again, let us know when we can send you data sheet and case studies. We are considered and proud to be a trusted lifecycle deployment advisor to clients. So BPM is not just a technology, a piece of technology or a software product. It's very, very important to get the deployment and the project right, and we're happy to assist our partners, deployment partners and direct clients with any issue around deployment, and we monitor and follow closely our clients' deployments of Sequence. And to wrap it up, Sequence is considered a leading business process management and workflow platform in the Microsoft environment specifically, and of course in general, but with very, very tight integration into SharePoint. I don't want to cover all of our client lists, of course, with you, but because we're short of time. But I just mentioned, I thought I'd mention a few of them on this slide, just to cover some of the wide range of verticals that we operate in, from pharmaceutical, government, travel, utilities, electronics, and more. For a full list of clients, you can go on our website and download case studies or see the client list. So what is Sequence? Sequence is a business process management suite, and there's a quite a clear definition of what is business process management suite on the analyst report. But essentially, for those of you who are new to the term, if you look at the diagram on the lower right hand of the screen, you will see that it's about the full life cycle from being able to do model-driven design in a graphical interface that describes the process, then push it in the same environment to execution, deployment, and development using the same environment and a business user-centric tool set. From there, it's the ability to manage the application once it's live in a live environment and administer it, then analyze, optimize to get the efficiencies and the benefits you'd expect out of the application, and then vice versa back into model and design for the change management. And this process is an ongoing process, continuous. As the business changes, the processes will change, and therefore the application that is developed within Sequence, the BPM suite, will change. And all of it is covered by Sequence, and we're going to demonstrate it in a couple of minutes. In a nutshell, it's the ability to take what is a manual process, which can run in emails or documents or pieces of paper, or could be an automated process in an inefficient system, and use Sequence to automate it and keep the integration to the main line of business system at all times. So if you've got an SAP system and you're using Sequence to automate a process, the data and the logic will be maintained in SAP or in Oracle, depending on which ERP system you're using, and the data integrity and the consistency of information will be maintained. What we also emphasize on is that end users, especially when it comes to human workflows, prefer to use what is a very common desktop or UI environment, which is normally an organization, an email environment, or in many cases the portal in SharePoint. So what we've done is we've taken all the UI as part of the Sequence and we push it into email and SharePoint for the purpose of reducing training and quick deployments and quick maintenance and adoption of applications. And we're going to demonstrate it again in a short bit. So how does it work? If you see on the diagram on the screen right now, every organization has legacy and main line of business application. Could be an SAP system, could be an CRM system, could be an Oracle system, or might be applications that sits outside the organization within the partner's environment, website, call center, whatever it may be. These systems are from time to time are joined up, but in some cases they are not joined up at all, and the processes are run independent of the core business requirement in each and every system on its own. So what we do is regardless to where the information resides or regardless to where the logic is, Sequence provide a process layers over and above the different systems, pushing data into the system and retrieving information out, but providing a process layers that describes a specific business problem. Could be a customer complaint, could be a customer request, could be a customer onboarding if it's on the customer side, or could be internally a purchase request that needs to be processed, or a new employee that joins the organization. Doesn't matter which line of business you're in, you probably have every organization and every department has its own problems that can be described in business processes that are either between systems or involve human being that needs to approve or interact with the process. That process layer solves this problem in sequence, and the application generator that you see on the screen are the tool sets that we provide to quickly generate this process layer and the application as part of it. So how does it look? If you think about a typical ERP, CRM deployment, and in this case SAP, in most cases you have to search to get or to complete a task multiple screens or multiple interfaces, because in one screen you may look for the relevant items, in another screen you may look at the customer base, and in a third screen you may look at credit limits or credit information. What we do with Sequence, we consolidate the data for what you can see on the top right hand side into one single screen or a set of screens that consolidates all the information to make the user interface for the end user very clear and very consistent. So instead of searching through many screens and go through training on all these modules in ERP, you get what you need at the right time through an email link or into a web form right in front of you, and the Sequence will take care at the back end of consolidating the data into a single electronic form. One of our large clients, of our many clients, they've deployed this technology using the work on, in this case, SAP, is the Portuguese Government. Portuguese Government have contracted with us a couple of years ago with a very clear business requirement. After spending millions on projects in different ministries, there was a very strategic decision taken by the Secretary of State and the Minister of Finance in Portugal to automate public administration, the public sector of Portugal, with a single shared service environment on HR and finance processes that will be very consistent across all ministries, all users, and will set a standard way of how the ministries manage HR processes such as payrolls, absence requests, leave requests, or on the finance side, expense management, public expenses, new supplier, etc. And the idea was to have the shared service provide the application as a service environment. So for example, the Minister of Finance user and the Ministry of Defense user will use this exact same process with a back-end SAP working in the core HR and finance with the finance and HR team, but the front end, the end user's interface, to use a lightweight application in emails and web forms. The solution they picked was Sequence, and we've created for them using Sequence together with them a layer on top of their SAP deployments that worked in HR and finance. So there's real-time integration from the web forms into the SAP and then vice versa, and all the end users, essentially close to 500,000 users when the solution is fully rolled out, will be getting emails and forms that they need to fill in whenever they need to ask any request or approve any request. The core data or the core HR and finance team will still be managing it in SAP. So for them, life hasn't changed. They work with the standard SAP environment, but the whole of the population, all of the users throughout the government will not need to be trained or use SAP to perform their day-to-day work and to fulfill their task. What they also needed is an environment for business users and designers to consistently change the processes. Because these things change ongoing, there needs to be an internal capability to either introduce a new flow or to change an existing application. The business benefit they achieved from it is huge. They were able to roll out this solution with almost zero training to the end users. The end users, remember, will see a form with data, very clear and very simple, or they will get an email asking them to perform a task. So obviously it's quite easy to train and get the adoption by the end users. The total cost of ownership, because of that and because of the reduction in the cost of licenses and cost of deployment and development, the total cost of ownership has gone down by nearly 80%, which is a huge saving when you think about government deployment. Time to delivery has also significantly gone down, and with a matter of months, they were able to introduce the first set of processes. I think it was about 2 to 3 months. Again, cost reduction and time reduction by about 70%. If I go to the architecture that they have used and other clients have used to achieve these incredible benefits, if you see in the center of the screen that is now displayed, the core of the system is the sequence, BPM, and workflow environment, which include a unique SAP adapter framework or ORCA. This adapter framework allows the integration, the smart integration online to and from the SAP environment, and this integration from an SAP perspective is done using the very standard APIs and tools that SAP will provide to the market. So we're not reinventing new ways of interrogating SAP. It is using what you already use, which is the standard APIs and integration environment. But we allow that to be exposed within the BPM framework to be used by the process designer. On the front-end side, the UI, we can use multiple UI options. One, of course, could be the SharePoint, so using SharePoint and exposing SharePoint lists and the web parts with the sequence data and information. And Chris will demonstrate it in a couple of minutes. We can expose information and data within electronic forms, especially when the user needs to fill in data or contribute information. Or we can send information and data back and forth from mobile devices, which is very common today with mobile workforce and people that are on the road. So it could be a BlackBerry, it could be an iPhone, could be a laptop. And the last one is, of course, Outlook and email environment, which is the most obvious one to send tasks as information to an end user. All of it is wrapped up with a very smart set of dashboard and optimization capabilities that allows not just the automation of the process, but to get the benefit from the automation into process improvement and process optimization. And we'll discuss it a little bit further as part of the demo. Conscious of time, I'm going to hand over to Chris, which is now going to take you through a demonstration of how what I've just described is actually seen in sequence. And he's going to choose a scenario, in this case, a very typical scenario in financial services and service companies, which is, or basically any company that deals with client, which is customer onboarding and the set of steps and integration that needs to happen where we want to get a new client authorized and approved. So Chris, over to you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So what we have here is the interface which would be for, say, a standard bank. Now this bank would allow access through to its systems through the website, as we all know. Now most banks run with an ERP system in the background which stores information about their customers. And in this scenario here, what we're suggesting is that our user, who is going to be a gentleman called Adam Dean, will go into the UBank website and suggest that, well, actually he wants to get access through to his account, which has been put on hold temporarily. Now he already has an account here with UBank. So he's going to start, he fills in his information, if he can type today. And as he's filling in his information, he knows he already has an account with UBank, and therefore UBank may be able to find the record that he has and find his information, as we can see here. So they've just been able to do a lookup against the background ERP system, which is SAP, and populated his information for him. Now as he goes through, again, he can make the system do a checkup against the ERP system, and it can also populate this information for him. This is information that the bank already holds about this customer. And it just saves him time filling in information, because as we all know, we get very lazy when put in front of a very big form. So we filled in all the information, we've submitted it through reactivation of the account, and we've been given a reference number. So this information has now gone through into the bank system, and we can just exit through from here, and Adam can know that his request has been sent through to the bank for processing. So the information now has gone through to the bank. Now Tom happens to sit in the bank's intranet system, which is a SharePoint application. Now Tom can see here that there's a new request has come in from Adam Dean for his account to be reactivated. Now it's in Tom's messages box, and Tom is able to now go and have a look at this account request and start reviewing information. This information that we see here is the information that was submitted by Adam. And basically it says here that we can set the credit limit for Adam's account request that he wants to be reactivated. So at this point, Tom's going to say, yes, we're going to give you a credit limit of £10,000 because we're feeling particularly generous today. And this information has obviously been populated through from the forms that Adam filled in, and that was pre-populated with information from the SAP system. So we've submitted in here that we want a credit limit of £10,000, and we're going to submit this through. Now, Tom can't complete the request for the account to be reactivated. It gets submitted through to the audit queue. And what you can see on the left of the screen is that a request has been put through for an audit review through to a team of 3 people who have the ability to pick up this task and activity and to take it forward. So Tom's done his task, and as you can see from his open messages, the task has gone. So Tom's finished his part in this little story, and now the job's gone through into the audit queue. Well, Peter happens to work at the bank, but he happens to do several other bits and pieces. So he happens to keep an eye on his information and through his Outlook system. So in Outlook, he receives an email saying, I'd like credit check done against this audit account. And he gets an information, it's a new account detail request has come through. You can see here in this email. And we can actually do an approve or a decline on the email, literally just from the email with the information about the account request, which is populated in the email body itself. And if we just have a look down here, this is all the information that we need to make the initial decision, and therefore it means that Peter doesn't actually have to go into the system to go and make the decision and to make the approval. He can read his email, click on the approve button, and that would automatically approve the task and would then put the process through into the next activity. But we want to have a quick look at the information and see what we have here. So here we can see that the audit team have 3 approvers have the task available. And I'm going to take ownership of this task as Peter, which means that that task now no longer is available to the other approvers to handle. Now, in my audit screen, as you can see here, I've declared that that Adam has 2 credit cards and has never been made bankrupt. Well, I want to double check this through an ERP system and check it against his credit score. So by clicking on the button SAP Connect, I'm then initiating an integration through to the ERP system to check the account information that we have and to go through to an external system which is performing a credit check. Now the information is returned. We can see that the actual number of credit cards is 2, just as Adam provided us with the information for, and he's never been made bankrupt. We also happen to get his credit score, which is great. It means that we may be able to start doing some cross-marketing and push information through to other areas where he may be of interest. We might want to start offering him mortgages or maybe a loan for other information. And down below we can also see a history of other information that's been submitted where Adam has actually put other requests through into the bank. And all of this has come through from the ERP system. Now at this point, Adam's passed the credit checks. We can see that we're quite happy with this so far. He's given us the right information. We quite like Adam as a customer. So as Peter's updated and approved, and as you can see on the left, we can see from the tree of the tasks that the account manager for Adam has now been informed that the activity and the account is ready to be activated. Well, Mark now wants to go and have a look at this information. Mark, as the account manager, happens to live in SharePoint as his corporate application interface. Now he's using this to access information from the ERP system and from other areas of the bank. As you can see down below, we have several messages coming through here for Mark, and but at the very top it's the new one, which is, as the account manager, he needs to review the account request. So as Mark, I'm now opening up the account request. I'm the account manager, and here's the information that needs to be handled from this point onwards. To reactivate Adam's account, I need to finish off some tasks. One is I need to send a letter to the customer. I need to check some extra history of the customer, and I also need to verify any duplicate information that we may have, especially in terms of we may need to see a bank statement from other bank accounts, or we may need to see bills just to confirm his address, just in case his address happens to have changed over the period in which the account has been dormant. But once we've completed all these tasks, we can tick them off, and we can say that the decision is approved, and me as the account manager, Mark Brown, can now confirm that the account is fine and that we're quite happy. Now you can see here in the list that we've updated SAP, and we've sent a message through to the SAP system, and this information all the way through the process has been getting updated into the SAP ERP system in the back end. What we've also been doing is we've now sent an information to Adam Dean that the account request has been confirmed. We've sent an information through to the account manager and through to the audit team, so as they are aware of what's happened. Now, one of the things we also have here, not without, as well as the tree, which shows us the form of execution for financial tracing of things, we have a trace option at the top right of the screen. Now this shows us who is performing what action on which screen as we go through. And you can see here that the credit limit request was created by Adam Dean. It was updated by Tom Watson. The audit review request was created by Tom and was fetched and filled in by Peter Green. And you can see the execution path as it goes down. So this, as you can see, means that we have an audit trail going on. So from there, what we have is a very simple show of the process. Well, one of the things we also want to look at is what else can we do with Sequence. Well, Sequence also allows us to have a look at other information that's available. Now, I don't know if you remember, but Peter was actually doing an audit check earlier. But one of the other things that he may want to do, that's the wrong one, I do apologise, is he may want to go and have a look at what's going on in the tasks in general within the corporate system. So by going into SharePoint again, we can actually see here that we have a dashboard and we have available information which shows us what's going on in general. Now Peter can see here the number of customers that are going into the system over the course of the past 12 months, and we have a case distribution of from the number of users, so we can see what tasks they're executing over a period. As you can see here, Peter happens to have the largest number of tasks and is the busiest person possible. So why he's looking at this, I don't know, because he obviously doesn't have the time. What we can also see is extra information. We have business specific areas, so the number of customers based over the last 3 months. Obviously, we're early in January, we haven't got that many customers yet. The credit value that we have, this is generally viewed as, say, the risk that the bank takes with the credit that has been allowed for the customers. And we can see what the average credit limit is that we allow customers as well. Now, if you remember in the process, we allowed Adam Dean £10,000 credit because we were feeling very nice today. But our average is around about 350 credit. We don't like to give too much credit because, as we know, things aren't great at the moment and people do like to overspend. But this allows us that visualization. We can see this information. In terms of operations, we can see that we have a distribution, as we saw earlier. Peter is the busiest person in the office. Within our SLA, we can see that 73% or 73 of the jobs, or 62% approximately of the requests that are coming in are being handled on time, and we have 11% which happen to be late. It just allows us that information so as we can see what's going on with the tasks and requests as they're coming in, and you as management can also make decisions on how we deal with this. And you can see here on the right we have time to close tasks. One of the added things is, because I'm Peter and I'm the busiest person there is in the office, we can see how many jobs I have coming into the system. So today I had 25 jobs come in. This week I had an average of around 12, and you can see how the split happens. We have the SLA commitment going on in terms of what I'm doing with my jobs, and I can see the status based on the jobs that I have currently that I'm handling. So this is all information which allows business to then, or the management to handle these decisions on how jobs are then dealt with, how tasks are split out across the workforce. It also allows me as a user to see how I'm dealing with my jobs and activities, and it allows me to see what else changes, or what other changes I could do to help improve the performance, the whole workflow and process and company as a whole. So that's the overview of the process. What I'd like to show you now is the back-end technical side. Now, I don't want to baffle you with technical science. It won't be much fun. But what we'll quickly do is we'll just have a look at what we call the management console and the workflow. Now, within this process, we have a simple workflow. We have the incoming account request. As you can see here, we have activity, which is the credit limit activity. And information, as you can see, these three steps here, the credit limit, the audit review, and the account manager, are all being fed back into the SAP interface. Once we go past the account manager activity, the information is going to SAP. We're distributing details because obviously we may not have just an SAP ERP system. We may have an Oracle system in the background. We may have an old JD Edwards system, which we also need to update. So this information can be split across several different systems. And we've been performing an internal audit. Now, to show you how easy it is to make a quick change to this process, what we have here is the ability to say, well, I need to make sure that my CEO is making a decision based on the fact that I have a credit limit which is above a certain amount. Now, we saw earlier that we had an average credit value of around 350 being made available to an individual. Now, within the process, we actually gave 10,000. Now, we may want to actually make sure that the credit limit isn't a little bit too high, and especially when it gets above a certain amount. It might have been my friend, I approved it, I gave a really high credit allowance because I happen to know he's a good guy and, you know, I like him. But my manager probably wouldn't be too happy about that. So here we can set an email which just goes out saying, please check the credit limit. We'll send it out to the CEO. Now, obviously, there are times when these people can change. Within the organisation structure, people change, titles change, but the CEO, employees and managers are pretty much going to stay the same. So we'll say we're going to send this email to the CEO specifically. Now that's created for me a nice email to the CEO. But what I want to do is I want to say that if that credit limit was actually set at above 10,000, I want the CEO to be aware of this. So I'm going to set a business rule which just says credit limit is above 10,000. And I do this by going from where the field is filled in, which was the credit limit string. I say the credit limit is, if the credit limit is above 10,000, no other information on there, I want to send an email to the CEO. As you can see, at the point when the credit limit is filled in and submitted, if the credit limit happens to be above 10,000, my business rule is executed and the CEO will receive an email. So that's how easy it is to change and expand on that process. And one of the other things I'd like to show you is the SAP integration quickly. Again, I'm very aware that we're running low on time, so what I'll do quickly is just show you the one that we have here. Now, as you can see here, we're running the standard customer details. We're getting information in and out of the system and updating as needs be. The customer has an ID. We start with not necessarily knowing it, but this will get changed as the process goes through, as the customer is recognized. And information is exchanged in two-way reference, updating what is needed as required. Now, if I come out of there, on the left-hand side, you can see that we have a set of SAP connectors predefined. And this allows us to get the account details, and customer history, and these are all pre-built and pre-available. These are available to be extended as required. I hope I've been able to give you a clear and concise overview of the workflow system and sequence, and I'm now going to pass you back to Adi.
Thanks, Chris. That was very useful. Just to go back to some of the business benefit as discussed earlier, and I think was very clear from Chris's demonstration. I think you can now understand what we mean by total cost of ownership being really and significantly low, and I think that comes from things like starting off licenses, cost of development, cost of deployment, training, and throughout the project lifecycle. And that affects, of course, the time and the ability to deploy quickly. So our standard time to deployment would be as quick as 60 days for a process, for the first process, including the integration to SAP. So unlike the traditional project, which takes months to get the ROI back, with the use of Sequence and the integration capabilities, you get the return of investment very quickly. Same goes to accelerated deployment and adoption. We've got a few more minutes, so I'd like to take or to address. We have quite a few questions. I'll just pick up maybe 2 or 3 of them to cover off. But before I go into the questions, you see again our details on the screen. We'd be happy to share more information with you if you need, or look at any specific requirement you may have and were not covered during this presentation, which we appreciate was quite short. So the first question was, is it Sequence being used only in the ERP environment, only in public sector? So the answer is no, it's used everywhere, and we gave the public sector example, but Sequence is being used in the utility sector, in financial services, banks, insurance companies, in telecommunication, manufacturing. All depends on the line of business application and the use of corporate system and the need for business process optimization. What we found in many years of work there in these environments, that every sector or any sector has got their own issues, and are very specifically taken care of by applications such as Sequence. Second question is, does PNMsoft get involved in the deployment of the solution? So I've got a mixed answer. So the answer could be yes, and we do get involved a lot with our partners and client, because as I said earlier, business process management is not just about technology, it's also about methodologies, and we at PNMsoft have developed a very unique methodology in the way to deliver business processes from the initiation and an idea of a project or a business problem all the way through to the optimization once that deployment has been achieved. And we like to share this deployment with our partners and clients, customers, because and make sure that it's successful. And we're quite proud of having close to 100% deployment rate in many years of Sequence deployment. But the other answer could be, if you want, you can be self-sufficient. And a lot of our clients pick up the knowledge and know how to develop and deploy business processes using this technology, and be completely self-sufficient. It's not rocket science. The technology is quite straightforward, and we've got a very clear training courses and on-the-job training to get our clients to where they need to be as part of their requirement for being self-sufficient. So you can either be completely self-sufficient, work with us very close, or anywhere in between, and of course use one of our partners worldwide that are specialized in deployment of Sequence processes. I think we ran out of time, so I'm going to stop here, although we've got a few other questions, and I will try to address them, either me or Chris, over an email. So thank you again for joining us, and hope you found the session today useful. This session is also recorded, and you can download it from our website. We'll upload it there later today and share it with your colleagues, either in the company or other colleagues. Feel free to do so, or contact us for any further information you may need. thank you again, and thank you, Chris, for the demo.